Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest narration of the web series The Human from a Dungeon. If you're new to this series, there is a playlist listed down below in the description, and as always, I hope that you enjoy. Chapter 84. GreatGreenGoo, Adventurer Level 7, Orc Nunavan. I see, High Chief Olamark said, once we finished our tale. The High Chief had listened attentively as we explained what had occurred since we left for the Empire of Calcutti. He carefully managed his expressions, only showing concern when we explained the encounter with the Master Vampire. The concern dissipated once we revealed its fate, though. The last we heard about the vampire army, they were retreating, I explained. Yes, straight into the Unified Chiefdoms, as it turns out, Olamark said. The three of us looked at each other, then back to the High Chief with expressions of shock and concern. His deep chuckle only intensified our expressions. It's no longer a problem, apparently. They've disappeared. Disappeared? I asked. Yes, into the air. We don't know where they've gone. But I'll take all the time to bolster our defenses I can. I nodded my agreement with the statement, and looked around the throne room. So, this is the capital of the Night Kingdom? He asked. Yes, after you left, the armies of Bonosaur and Calcutti joined us for a nice little invasion. The Night Kingdom is no more, and King Lofin's fate will be decided tomorrow morning. Well, that was fast. Well, nobody has ever accused Lofin's military of being competent. Plus, we were quite motivated, Olamark growled. The horrors wrought upon Blurpus will take generations to forget. The throne room fell into silence for a few moments. Then Olamark regained his composure and leaned back in what used to be Lofin's throne. So what's next for you three? We plan to return home for now, I explained. I know we can do much to prepare for our meeting with the Summer Court, but we'll try to get some rest and recovery in. We'll definitely take on some quests, Nash added. A weapon at rest too long is inviting rust. The grand return of the glorious adventurers, Olamark laughed. I hope you'll all get a feast. However, there is a matter that I wanted to discuss with you, GreatGreenGoo. Oh? I asked. Yes. I plan to open a school of sorts dedicated to the study of magic. I would like you to assist me in this endeavor. I stared at Olamark, frozen in shock. My mouth didn't know whether to drop my jaw or to drool. A school of magic? Yes, I've heard of such facilities to the south and across the world. But we have no such facility. As such, protective mages must either travel to these locations or find an apprenticeship to learn more about the art. Those that travel seldom return. As the length of time one spends learning magic frequently leads to setting down roots. Apprentices usually stay, but they're limited to the knowledge that their masters have. By building an academy within our borders, both of these issues are easily resolved. I see, I slowly nodded, allowing this revelation to sink in. And how may this humble mage assist in such a grand plan? By teaching, of course, and helping find us other teachers. Teaching? I'm afraid I'm not qualified, I protested. I pulled your guild card. You know more spells than most, which implies that you are very familiar with the concepts of magic on at least a basic level. I would even call it foundational knowledge, which is why I believe that you would make a great general education specialist. Your specific role would be Professor of Magical Theory and Practice. How's the pay? Nash asked with a laugh. Professors will get an initial salary of 25 copper per day, which will be increased based on performance. There's also the chance to learn from other professors. Now it was Nash's turn to look shocked. My brother quickly turned to me, grabbing my shoulder. You have to take this job, York, he said. 25 copper per day, with free room and board and a malfaxing, would set you up for life. Yes, I suppose it would, I nodded. I had frequently dreamed of an opportunity such as this, of course, but that had been idle fantasy. Now the opportunity had practically broken down my metaphorical door, and I found myself conflicted. Nash was correct in that I would be set for life with a position such as this. But how often would I be able to travel and see the world? When would I next see my brothers and mother? If I had this commitment, would I even be able to still help Nick get home? And what of the court? Will he be able to travel with us next summer? Nick conveniently asked. I don't see why not, Olamark shrugged. You won't be our only professor of theory and practice. We'll figure out time-off systems that ensure the students' needs are met while allowing the professors to take time away to further their skills and to take care of other business." "Oh, awesome," Nick replied. "And, can I study at this academy?" Nash's eyebrows shot up, and he looked at Nick as if the human had suddenly morphed into an Arcfey. "What?" he asked. "You're not going to train with me?" "Well, it's like you said. I've just about hit the limits of my training that we can do together," Nick explained rapidly. "I figure that until we can find an expert to further my swordsmanship, I can hold my magic. Well, yeah, okay, that's reasonable, I guess." Nash crossed his arms. "The hell am I supposed to do, though?" "You can stay with Mum while we're at the academy," I interjected. "Take some jobs, hone your talents, get to adventure at level 10. Nash's head whipped in my direction, and his paint turned slightly darker shade of green. I met his angry glare with a sly grin. Nick and Ulamog looked confused at Nash's reaction. "Or I could just hang out in Kokena and make sure that you two don't have too much fun," Nash growled. "You can take your time to decide," Ulamog said. "It'll be a while before we have even the most basic facilities ready. Before I let you go, though..." The door to the throne room burst open and 2 large orcs angrily marched in. It took them a moment to see us because of their bickering. "Oh, sorry, High Chief. We can come back later," the elder orc said. "Having a meeting?" the younger one asked. "With, wait. Are those the elder boys? I'll be damned." It was then that I recognized Great Chief Ulmag. We had last seen each other at my father's funeral. We were quite young, and he was very kind, though a bit crass. It was rather surprising that he recognized us. "And who's that with you? By the soiled loincloth of my army! What the hell is that thing?" "I'm a human," Nick replied. "My name is Nick." "Oh, right. The thing that was found in the dungeon," Ulmark nodded and walked over to Nick. "Pleasure to meet you, Nick. I'm Great Chief Ulmark, Slayer of blah blah blah. How are you doing?" Ulmark grabbed Nick's forearm and gave it a stiff shake. Nick, for his part, returned the greeting without being lifted off the ground. "I am well, and you?" he asked. "I would like to know as well," Ulmark said angrily. "I assume there's a reason behind this interruption." "Yes, High Chief," Tormund lowered his head apologetically. "There is a disagreement regarding a certain stretch of land. The, noble that ruled over the territory directly to the north of Blurpus has decided to step down, and I would like to lay claim to that land, and—" "Argue it out." "We have, but we reached a stalemate. The other great chiefs, Drow included, don't believe that the territory of Blurpus should grow when no one else is. I argue that we were greatly impacted by the invasion, and our heroic acts against the vampire-led Drow army is the entire reason for this invasion. As such, we deserve the land, either as a reward or as compensation." "Then what are you here for, Ulmark?" "You think I'm going to take an old windbag at his word?" Ulmark asked with a laugh. "I came to verify that he speaks the truth, both to you and to the other great chiefs. If he lied about my words, I would find out and force Blurpus to find another great chief. Yeah, but what if he never came to you in the first place? Then he wouldn't be lying about what you said, just putting words in your mouth, which is a lot less illegal." "Fine," Ulmark sighed. "Tormund, your claim to Blurpus was impacted. Elaborate, please." "We lost an entire village," Tormund said with an offended tone. "No, I was told that it was an unregistered village. Were they paying taxes?" "Well, no, but—" "But nothing. Blurpus has not lost taxable revenue as a result of either of the invasions. In addition, with the threat of the Night Kingdom neutralized, new villages can be built closer to your border. If anything, our conquest of the Night Kingdom has already benefited you." "And what about the lives of our soldiers?" "Everyone's lost soldiers." Ulamog's eyes narrowed. "Even the Drow lost soldiers. No, the fair thing is to have the lands without chiefs hold an election and choose one." "Well, really?" Ulmark asked. "Yes, really. Both Drow and Orc are going to be living shoulder to shoulder on a large scale for the first time in centuries. As such, we're about to enter a time of turbulence. Lopen was a fool and a tyrant, but he was still a Drow, and for some of our new subjects that is far sight better than being ruled over by Orcs. We need to be as fair as possible during this transition, or we will be lending credence to those with negative opinions of us."
Well, you can't blame me for trying, Tormund said with a grin. All right, old Mag, let's let the others know what the High Chief has decided.
Damn, maybe we should have just let you take it,
old Mag said with the pair began to leave.
Then Ulamog wouldn't have spoiled things with his fairness speech.
The great chiefs left the throne room, and the doors closed behind them with a loud thud. Nash, Nick, and I turned back to the High Chief.
Well, I'm sure that won't have any negative consequences,
Ulamog grumbled.
So, where were we?
You're saying it'll take time before the academy is ready. Nick answered helpfully.
All right, yes. It'll take at least a few weeks. We're going to put it up in the unused building while we construct a more permanent facility. Now that we don't need a full standing army, I can throw a lot more money at this project.
We don't need a standing army anymore, Nash asked.
Sure don't. The Night Kingdom was our only real threat. The Barban tribes to the north are friendly sort, but even if they weren't, they're not much of a threat to any sort of organized force. Hells, the only reason the Night Kingdom didn't conquer them is because they're damn hard to invade because of the cold. And to our east and west we have Kolkoti and Bolasar, which are both allies. If one of them decides to betray us, the other will help us. If both of them decide to betray us, having a standing army won't help a damn bit. Finally, the lands to the south are too busy with each other to bother with us. So it's time for some of our soldiers to become reservists.
Peace at last? Nick asked.
Ulamog laughed. I suppose so, yes.
Is all of the Night Kingdom becoming part of the unified chiefdoms now? I asked.
No. The Empire of Kalkuti is carving out a portion to the north for themselves. King Yisenrath has apparently declared that Bolasar is not to grow, so they're not taking any lands. Instead, we'll be compensating them with a portion of the taxes from our new territories for a time.
King Yisenrath doesn't want Bolasar to grow, Nick asked.
Why? The High Dragon didn't explain himself, but it probably has something to do with the Wilder. One has to be careful when expanding one's borders when you rule over the fair folk.
Pardon? Yisenrath rules the fair folk? I asked.
Just the ones in Bolasar, and not really in a traditional sense. It's a pretty unique relationship. It should come as no surprise that the concept of ruling is different to the Wilder than it is to us.
How so?
Well, as far as I'm aware, Yisenrath can't order them into battle, but he can determine their laws. Apparently there's pretty drastic consequences if the Wilder break these laws too, but I don't know too much about that.
They turn into undead when they die, Nick offered. Zombies, vampires, ghouls, stuff like that, at least I think.
I see, Ulamog said.
So Yisenrath could create unreasonable laws if he wanted to, I asked. They must trust him quite a lot. But what's to stop some other tyrants from creating unreasonable laws in an effort to extort the fair folk?
Well, as I understand it, the fair folk of Bolasar only bow to Yisenrath's bloodline. So if Yisenrath died and an elf became king, the fair folk wouldn't be subject of that king. If I remember right, the whole deal was formed by one of Yisenrath's ancestors to protect the citizenry from the fair folk. There was a fight first, but the Wilder conceded defeat and accepted the rule of the High Dragon of a time.
Sir, a scout next to the chief whispered in his ear, you have other matters to attend to.
Right. Well, it's been fun catching up, boys. All right. I need you to give me a list of potential professors, Jukka. Bear in mind that they'll be your co-workers and that they'll be molding the minds of tomorrow. I'll need it before you begin your journey home.
Yes, High Chief, I said.
All right, I guess that's it. You're dismissed. Expect a message within the next few weeks.
Nick, Nash, and I bowed and left the throne room. Once the doors closed behind us, we realized that we were completely unfamiliar with the layout of the castle. So we petitioned a guard for aid, and she gave us directions towards the exit. Once we found the exit and left the castle, Nash took a deep breath and let it out with a big sigh.
All right, let's prepare for the journey home, he said.
End of chapter. I would like to thank our T5 members and patrons, Casper Arnholtz, Jon Creighton, Vidmori, 050, Dragzoon W.R.E, and Elijah Silvercross. Thank you very much.